Hey guys, what's up? Sanu here, back with another DAP review, finally. This is probably the coolest DAP that I have ever tested. I literally counted days and minutes the moment I would receive it. And here it is, the mighty FiiO M15 in all its glory. Before going forward, I did a real unboxing a few days ago, and let's check that out first. So this is the first box that it is coming with. This is the second one, and the third one is inside it. Let's open it up, let's check it out. Lots of foam, as usual, for extra protection. And here's the mighty M15. Let's open it up. Very nice looking pattern. Very good looking. Let's open it up with my trusty knife. Very nice looking box, awesome pattern. I really like the rainbow color. Wow, that's heavy, very heavy box. Dual AK4499 flagship smart digital player. Nice. Let's open it up. Ta-da! M15 portable high resolution music player in a wooden box. Very high quality wooden box. That's a first for FiiO. I believe this is walnut, I think. Really nice case. Lots of foam as well. I think the packaging is absolutely incredible. And let's take out the device itself. Very heavy device. This is probably the heaviest DAP that I ever put my hands on. As you can see, dual AK4499, and this is the circuitry inside. I will do it first on camera because I like doing this. Yay! Okay, let's do this here. Nice, very nice looking, pretty heavy for this size, has some heft to it. Let's check what else can be found in the package. Okay, so we'll find an USB Type-C cable, the usual stuff. We have also, coaxial to 3.5mm adapter, digital transport, all the quick start guide, manuals and everything, warranty information, and some display protectors. This is one, I believe only for the front, I'm not sure really. One glass screen protector, nice. And this is basically everything. Let's power it on. I think this is basically the same display as M11 Pro. Wow, I really like this wallpaper. Very nice, awesome wallpaper, I believe. I hope you can see it. Okay guys, keep watching until the end of the review because I will be comparing it with the mighty M11 Pro. I am very interested in knowing how it's comparing with the M11 Pro. In terms of design and build quality, all those sharp and shiny edges of M11 and M11 Pro were dropped and replaced with smooth lines, rounded edges that are offering a very humane design that is very comfortable to hold in the hand. I feel that FiiO was inspired a bit by another DAP from the land of the rising sun, Sony WM1Z, but that is okay. Everybody is doing this nowadays in the smartphone business. I like a lot the looks of M15. It is really pleasant to hold. At 307 grams it is on the heavier side, but it adds a pleasant heft to it. As with their newest DAPs, every button has a firm press and nothing is really wobbling around. The analog volume wheel turns a bit slower and I need to apply a bigger force to turn it, which I like a lot, and as a result it should not turn by itself in the pocket of my jeans. However, I will say that the decision of putting the volume wheel on top of the device, sticking out to the rest of the body, was not a great idea. Because of that, you cannot change its volume single-handed, as I was doing on M11 and M11 Pro, and in the pocket a higher pressure will be put on the wheel, which might damage it in the long run. On the bottom you can spot a single micro SD card slot and the USB Type-C. Yeah, just a single card slot, exactly how M11 Pro has. I already explained to you why the second slot was dropped in my M11 Pro review. On the top you will see that beautiful volume wheel that has a pleasant blue light around it while it's charging. There is also a trio of headphone outputs. FiiO is already notorious for offering great flexibility with all of them. One is a normal single-ended 3.5mm output, and the rest are more powerful balanced outputs coming in 2.5mm and 4.4mm flavors. It has the same display assembly FiiO used on their M11 and M11 Pro units. It's a multi-touch 5.15 inches IPS display with a decent resolution. It looks bright, sharp and vivid enough for me. Contrast is good, black and white levels are above decent, and the viewing angles are nice thanks to that IPS panel. Do note that a bigger display or a higher resolution one will consume a lot more power, and a low battery life is the last thing you would want in a high-end DAP. In terms of battery capacity, M15 has a humongous 7490 mAh battery inside. It was mandatory putting a bigger one to feed a much bigger and much more complex audio circuitry. It added to the weight, but it also added few precious hours to the battery life, and I'm very glad that FiiO put a really big one inside it. Due to that big battery capacity, I strongly recommend using a quick charger with it, otherwise charging time can take up to 4 hours or even more. From a modest 9-hour battery life on M11 Pro on the normal jack, battery life increased to more than 15 hours, which is absolutely great. In real-time tests with a 90 dB sound pressure level, the battery of course drops to about 12 hours on the normal jack and to about 9 hours on the balanced jacks. Under the hood, M15 is using the same fast and reliable 6-core Exynos CPU that M11 and M11 Pro are using. At this moment this is the fastest one in any DAP at any price. RAM size remained at 3GB and built-in ROM memory remained at 64GB too. This particular system-on-chip is the sole culprit. FiiO is still at Android version 7.0 and is not supporting Google Play Store. However, on its main menu you can find an applications bubble from where you can install the most important apps, as music streaming ones and even third-party APK markets like APK Pure or Cool APK. From the last two you can freely download and install most of the apps Google Play Store can offer to you, including games. At the heart of M15, two flagship AK44 DAC chips will take care of the digital processing. So far, AK4499 is the single commercial-made chip that challenged and even surpassed some of the specs of the mighty ESS 9038 Pro DAC chip. Compared to the former flagship of AKM, the newest one doubled its pin numbers, increased in die size, power consumption increased as well, and in the process digital to analog processing improved a lot as well. In terms of power delivery, FiiO went really overboard with this one. Under the hood it carries not 2, not 4, not 8, but 10 freaking op-amps for a power output of 800 mW of power into 32 ohms or 280 mW in 300 ohms on the balanced jacks. There is also something very high-end that FiiO never used until now. Tantalum capacitors that so far only Sony used in their super expensive WM1Z and DMP-Z1 DAPs. I'm already imagining myself what M15 could deliver in terms of slam and lightning-fast dynamics. It needs to be said that M15 is the first DAP in their portfolio that is using a 100% volume wheel, and as of right now M15 is not showing on screen the exact volume position. I wish that in a future firmware update FiiO could add this feature that could save my hearing and few drivers of my sensitive IEMs. Okay guys, let's move to the most important part, the sound quality. I first connected it to some very sensitive IEMs like this one and others, and you should know that it has the total harmonic distortion by about 50% lower than that of M11 Pro and by about 6 times lower than that of the regular M11. Noise floor dropped as well and separation increased on the both single-ended and balanced outputs, and as a direct result I actually never heard my sensitive IEMs so alive, so open and so ass-kicking on any other DAP. After engaging low gain mode and disabling the over-ear mode and pressing play, I was just mesmerized by the complete silence in some passages. There is just nothing between them, just a pitch black void with notes that are just born out of thin air. I recommend listening to Raining Quietly by Helge Lion Trio, and just before the 1 minute mark everything just pops around you in a very natural, non-offensive way. The same song sounded almost as good on the, and almost as enveloping on M11 Pro, but the regular M11 was really far away in terms of performance compared to the other two. So note placement and depth were actually quite amazing, and to my surprise I never really thought that I'm listening to a battery-powered portable device. Double bass rumbled so hard without losing its grip. I'm normally experiencing this kind of sound only with proper desktop power. So M15 feels like laughing in the face of danger with an effortless presentation like this one. I can't say where I was volume-wise because M15 is not showing the exact volume position on its display. However, volume-wise it was plenty enough even for the most demanding ones. So even on the single-ended output, M15 can drive heavy loads with ease, so multi-driver IEMs do not pose a slight less problem for it. Headroom was bottomless, music was flying in all directions, and air just filled in the room quite nicely. Moving on to portable over-ear headphones like Sennheiser Momentum 2 and Mesa 99 Classics, felt like squeezing the last bit of performance out of them. So you can wake them up only with proper desktop power, but out of all my portable DAPs that I tested so far, only M11 Pro could make them nimble, fast and articulate. So M15 is making them like that too, but is also adding an additional layer of information on top. It opens up the sound stage, and everything just becomes deeper sounding and more effortless sounding as well. If I would never listen to M15, I would probably never say something like this. So I like the M11 Pro quite a lot, but the low end was great only in terms of quality and not a lot in terms of quantity. So bass always felt fast and nimble, but was not going to Mariana Trench levels, and sustain was not one of its strongest points. So with M15 I'm feeling a little bit guilty, like opening the Pandora's box. So this is how a proper bass line should be maintained, should sound and should vibrate. M15 is the first DAP that is offering such a big power reserve, and when you listen to some powerful and impactful tunes, you just feel how M15 is delivering an incredible sound pressure level. It almost makes you feel like going lower volume-wise. So the sonic impact it creates is just incomparable with other portable units that I tested. And the name of the game right now is not detail retrieval as it was on M11 Pro, but effortless, bottomless and powerful this time around. So volume-wise I can't say really again, but I presume at about 60 to 65% volume-wise, it was already too loud for me. So on the high gain and engaging over-ear mode, background remained as black and as noiseless as ever. Headroom was again bottomless, and even on the 3.5mm headphone jack. Moving on to desktop headphones, instead of using some gentle dynamics, I decided throwing the M15 in a den with 3 wolves. So the RZH Phobos, Hi-Fi Manieria and Quad Era 1. All 3 planar magnetic headphones are very hard to drive. All of them never really worked out of portable devices, with just one honorable mention that M11 Pro worked decently with 2 of them. So for fun I felt like testing first the 3.5mm jack, the normal headphone jack, with the Quad Era 1 was the first on the test bench, and with them I couldn't reach the maximum volume level. It was way too loud even for me. I did some experiments with and without the over-ear mode, and once it is engaged, I'm feeling that the room is filling up with music. I feel that the bass just goes lower. I feel more emotion out of my tunes. I feel a much higher involving factor with my music, and I feel just connected to it. Disengaging the over-ear mode, music just becomes drier, a bit lifeless, not that engaging anymore. It is not just the volume, everything takes a serious hit. With it engaged, my smile returned back, dynamics rushed in full force, and when I started listening to some my usual bass tracks, I felt how my ears just started waving, so slam improved tremendously to unrecognizable basically. So Quad Era 1 were just fully driven to their maximum potential, even on the 3.5mm jack. Next was the XL-sized RZH Phobos with those huge 106mm drivers. With a low 45 ohm impedance, it needs a lot of current to be driven properly at the fullest, and at about 80 to 85% volume-wise, Phobos was throwing an extended soundstage that was going beyond all other headphones from my stable. So M15 was just decompressing my music, was pumping a lot of positive energy along the way. I again observed that low intensity sounds started filling my head somehow. Bass was going lower and kicked in full force. I would never guess that I'm listening to a battery-powered portable device with them. As with quads, Phobos were driven to the fullest, and I'm extremely happy about that, because when I'm traveling, I tend to carry with me a small desktop setup and a pair of desktop planar magnetic headphones with me, but that soon will change with an M11 at my side. In terms of soundstage and depth, M11 Pro was already quite impressive with that large soundscape that stretched wide open in all directions, especially with sensitive IEMs, but less so with bigger cans and with desktop headphones. So M15 is even more spacious sounding, it is even more enveloping, and it again reminded about some desktop units that I'm testing of late. I believe that for an audio source to have an open-wide soundstage, the power delivery should be really instant and top-notch. And that huge capacitance, that huge power reserve that M15 is having, made some of those notes flying just to abyss somehow. So I really don't need stressing myself too much to hear all that openness, all that airiness. And I don't really want to sound like a fanboy. I didn't listen to all the best DAPs of the world, but from the small batch that I listened to, M15 is having the widest and the deepest soundstage of them all. In terms of transient response, here's the thing. So M15 has 28 capacitors inside, and 5 of them are really juicy and are really fat. So if you would just unbox it and just listen to it right away, you would not be impressed by its speed and by its impact. Those capacitors need at least few hours in settling down, but for the best results I recommend at least 48 hours, or better yet, 96 hours for the best results for a full burn-in before making any real judgment. At first, M15 sounded just too warm, too full-bodied somehow, mellower, slower, and it just didn't keep up with my music. But as time passed by, it started showing me fast executed notes. I felt air moving around faster. It started keeping up with my music. So those mellower and those slow transients were nowhere to be found anymore. And it started sounding just nimble, lightning fast, and immediate. In terms of detail retrieval, I am pretty sure that those 2 femtosecond clocks, that new generation of PGA, that dual AK4499 setup, played a big role in achieving this super clean sound, free of any distortion or harshness. So M15 is extremely transparent sound, that is true. It is clean, it is grain-free, even with not some impressive recordings. So when I started discerning some additional layers of information compared to my other DAPs, I knew that there is something special about this one. Even some of my favorite tunes, like White Limo by Foo Fighters, that was recorded on a 100% analog recorder and mastered on a 100% analog board, becomes almost unlistenable. Because I'm hearing way too much truth, way too much of it that should be hidden from the listener, really. M15 can even replace a high-end desktop DAC without losing anything really, except for those balanced line outputs. So M15 is resolute, it is extremely clean sounding, and I am quite stunned by how much portable devices evolved of late. In terms of frequency response, with M15 I really don't need to mention a lot about it. So simply put, because it is straight as a line, it is very extended on both the sub bass and the upper treble. It is against those dry and V-shaped type of sounding sources. So M15, I think it possesses the deepest bass that I've heard in a DAP, with the right control and grip. I think that bass is always layered, it breathes, it's impactful, it rises my mood level in an instant after pressing that rounded play button. I think that mid-range is always natural, well-fitted-like, it's deep, it's soul-reaching, having a natural decay of the notes. I think that string-based instruments and even voices have a really nice vibration. All the voices have a very distinctive pitch and tonality, so mid-range is just spot on for me. It's very pleasant and it's really lifelike. Moving on to treble, I think it's phenomenal. Super extended, even top octave. Lots and lots of details can be spotted in there with absolutely zero brightness levels. It is a little bit bright sounding at first, but after about 48 to 96 hours, those caps will be fully burnt in, and will be offering smoothness and micro detail information that even an expensive DAP could envy it. Okay guys, so I have a pleasant surprise. I also compared the M15 with the former flagship by FiiO, the M11 Pro, here it is, and with another DAP from another mother, the Sony WM-1Z. I will skip all the specs and I will go directly to the audio performance. I will first compare it with the M11 Pro, and the truth is that when comparing both, it really depends what exactly is connected to them. If I test only with my IEM collection, then the difference shrinks quite a lot. So both devices have power to spare and both will provide gobs of power even for expensive multi-driver designs. So with FiiO FH7, M11 Pro is always fast, clean, super articulate, has a wide soundstage, sometimes it is just too clean sounding somehow, very straight as a line, very linear, and sometimes just sharp sounding. With M15, FH7 is sounding a bit wider, I hear a fuller bottom end, it slams me harder, mid-range is also having more life in it and it brings emotions to the table. Treble is more or less on the same on both devices, so the clear difference is there, but the transient response is just identical on both units. And when I move to the big boy category, driving some desktop planars, then there is really no contest here. So M15 just kills the M11 Pro on every single aspect. It is wider sounding, deeper, have a much better control, sounds alive, articulate, it possesses incredible dynamics, slams like a hammer. It will even show an additional layer of detail in the bass, mid-range and treble. M11 Pro is boring sounding by comparison, only with big cans, shy in dynamics and will have a lesser musical involvement. If you wish to remain at IEMs only, then they are close to each other, and if you want to test a wider variety of headphones, then M15 just delivers its best no matter the headphone. Versus the WM-1Z by Sony, and disregarding the huge price difference, power-wise there is no contest here, so only on the balanced out the Sony player can impress a critical listener. Otherwise, the 3.5mm jack can barely move any portable headphones. I never really understood the design philosophy behind this decision. So WM-1Z is also having a big reserve in capacitance with 4 tantalum caps, and that can be felt almost immediately as it is moving air fast in the room, feels it really nicely. And 15 is just a tad wider sounding with a bigger presence everywhere. I just feel more sound around me, like a musical mist spreading to my ears. M15 is a bit more involving, it just moves my body and tickles my brain a bit more. WM-1Z is impressive in terms of soundstage and depth, and so far was the king in this department, and yet M15 is beating at its own game. In terms of tonality, the Sony player feels a little bit weird at first. It's incredible in terms of bass and treble, and just okay in terms of mid-range department. So M15 is bottomless in the bass, super extended in the treble, but also meaty and present in the mid-range. So M15 feels like a complete package in terms of frequency response, and WM-1Z like a very good at temp, but still not quite my tempo. Detail retrieval is actually incredibly on the Sony, but again not up there with the M15. I hear micro details on the Sony, but I need to close my eyes and be in my Zen state to hear them. But with M15 all those are very obvious and I just don't need to be in my Zen state anymore. When it comes to driving power, M15 is unbeatable and will drive some of the big cans to their fullest, and MW1Z can only dream about that, even on the balanced out. There is one thing where the Sony player is undisputed champion, and that is the battery life. It is doubling it compared to M15. With all that said, the king is dead and long live the new king. Going on into the conclusion, M15 is without a doubt a high-end DAP from any point of view. It is currently having the best technology inside, the best audio processing power, the biggest battery capacity, the highest driving power, the lowest total harmonic distortion, and the list goes on. M15 is definitely a statement product, it feels mostly like a trophy, and FiiO did their homework extremely well this time around. They learned from their past mistakes, and I feel that this is their best attempt at revealing and launching a product at the same time. So M15 is really a big departure from all the other products. Even to the M11 Pro it feels like a huge leap forward in so many ways. As a statement product, M15 is not really cheap and it was not targeted at everyone. If you want only the best, no matter the cost, then I think M15 is right up your alley. It will cost you about $1,300 US, but in my honest opinion I think it delivers more than its cost. As for its competitors from the likes of Sony and Aston & Kern, I have only 3 words for them. Watch and learn. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed my review. My full in-depth review is waiting on my website. In case you want to support this channel, please subscribe to it, and thank you for doing that. As usual, be strong, listen to my music, be positive, and I'll see you soon. Cheers guys, bye bye.